Today I'm making a peach custard tart, and it is going to have some blueberries on top just to give it some little color and a little contrast to the flavor. Also today I am collaborating with two channels that I absolutely love. Today I'm collaborating with Country Hill Cottage as well as Weekend at the Cottage, and they are also making a super easy summer dessert for you. So make sure that you go and check out their channels. I'm going to leave links down in the description as well as iCards connected to the video so you can click over and check them out. And let's go make some peach custard and blueberry tart.
I'm starting off here with a half of a cup of butter along with a quarter cup of sugar, and I'm just going to cream these two together until they're nicely mixed and I have a nice creamy consistency. I'm using my KitchenAid mixer and I have it on like medium high speed for right now. This is what it looks like when I am happy with the texture. I've added in 1 teaspoon of almond extract, and I just want to go ahead and mix that in as well. This crust is kind of like making cookies except for without eggs. So, it's like I'm using the cookie method here. You do the creaming of the butter and then you add in your liquids, and the next thing that I'm going to add in is my flour. I'm definitely skipping the eggs. The reason there are no eggs in this is because I want it to crumble, and eggs are what keep things from being crumbly. They hold the ingredients together. So now I am adding in 1 cup of flour, and I'm going to go ahead and mix this on the very low speed to start off with. This helps me not over mix it, and it also keeps all of the flour from flying out of the bowl. Once I get that mixed in, I'm going to add 2 additional tablespoons of my flour. And by the way, I am using whole wheat flour. You can use a white flour here, but you might have to make a bit of adjustment to the amount of butter that you used at the beginning. Once I get that nice and mixed up, I'm going to go ahead and just check the texture. I have gloves on because I don't want it to end up under my fingernails, but this texture is looking gorgeous. It holds together and it is ready to go into my tart pan. I'm just going to go ahead and get all of it in there. You don't really have to bother to form it into a disc or anything like that. You can just start mashing it. The idea here is to get it as even as possible. You don't want a huge thick pastry crust. You want this to be about a 1/4 inch thick. So even a little bit less if you have, a bigger tart pan, that's fine. Anywhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch is a good thickness for a pastry crust. So I'm just patting this down until I get it nice and even, and then I want to go over the corner where the sides and the bottom meet, because this is where it tends to kind of get thick as you're patting it out. So just go over that little kind of corner part and then go over your edges again. Make sure that you press the edges really into the shape and then kind of push them down so that they're all even. This way, when you remove the tart from its pan, you're going to have a pretty little crust. Okay, this is going to go into the oven, and I'm going to bake it on 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 18 minutes. And of course, I'm going to dock it first. When you dock it, that kind of helps it keep from getting bubbles. I'm also putting it onto a sheet pan just to make it easier on my life when I get it out of the oven. So here I have some nice fresh peaches, and you can see that I have cut them and also I have peeled them. I cut them pretty thick. You don't want them really thin for this. They're probably close to 1/2 inch thick. Arrange them in a nice pretty pattern like so. And of course I want to put one in the middle. The next thing that I'm making is my custard, and for that I have 1 egg plus 2 egg yolks in here, and I'm going to whisk that together and then add a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. I really love the contrast of the buttermilk with the sweetness of the tart. It just gives it just a teeny little bit of, I don't want to say bitter, I guess sour is the word I'm looking for. A little bit of sour in there. I'm also adding in 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'm going to mix that in really well, and then I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of flour. Again, I am using a whole wheat flour. The flour is in there because as these peaches cook, they're going to put off just a little bit of liquid, and I want to make sure that I have some sort of starch in there to absorb the liquid as it cooks. Otherwise, I'm going to have a runny custard, and that is not a good thing. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and pour the liquid that we made over top of my peaches. And my pan is a teeny bit off balance because I have it sitting on top of a hot pad underneath because this is hot. The tart shell just came out of the oven a few minutes ago, as you remember. So I'm just going to kind of tilt it and make sure that I have my custard poured in there pretty evenly. The next thing that I'm going to do is add some blueberries on top. I probably have, I don't know, a quarter to a half of a cup of blueberries, and I'm just kind of randomly adding them on there in absolutely no certain pattern. And as I look at it, I just kind of look for empty spaces once I put the beginning of them down and decide where that last guy is going to go. Right here is perfect. Great. So this is going to go into the oven for 30 minutes at 325 degrees. So when you take it out of the oven, it should have just a teeniest little bit of wiggle in the middle. What I have here is some mango-apricot preserves. You can use any kind of preserves you want if you find peach or plain apricot or mango or whatever, but I do like for them to have this kind of orange color. I put the preserves into the microwave for 20 seconds just to kind of get them into a liquid form, and then I am using my silicone brush here to very, very, very gently put the preserves onto the top of my custard. This is going to give the sides of the crust a really beautiful shine, and it's also going to give the top of my tart a really beautiful shine. My custard here is still warm, so it's not entirely set. That's one of the reasons that I'm being extra super gentle. I suppose you could refrigerate it first, but I think that putting that hot preserves on there is kind of going to make it the same situation where you're going to have to be really gentle with it. Once this is completely set up and you don't have any of that jiggle in the middle, then you can go ahead and remove the outside ring of your tart pan. I did put mine into the refrigerator for like 30 minutes. I was kind of trying to rush it because my kids are like, you know, kind of swarming me and asking me for pieces of this, so I kind of tried to speed it up. You're welcome to serve this nice and warm. That's how I served it. It is delicious that way. The custard is a little bit softer when it's warm. If you put it into the refrigerator for a couple of hours, it's going to set up just a little bit more. So that's kind of up to you. But you could also put some ice cream with this if you wanted to. I opted not to. I think that it's great just on its own how it is. So this is how I'm serving it, and this is what it looks like. I hope that all of you absolutely love this recipe.